Base, my movie.
Hey everybody, this is this is the vlog for another vlog for today, September 28th. This is gonna be more of a general video about what's going on with me, so that I can show it to people, my therapist. I'm gonna send it to tonight, and just anybody, so that I can talk about the different things that are going on with me, like on a mental health type level, so people can, hear it, and I can maybe describe it better verbally than in writing, but like on the camera, so I'm not being asked like a million questions or feeling like I'm put on the spot. So, to recap for people that I'm going to be showing this to, like in groups or whatever, everything was going great for me, and then in December, I randomly had a few panic attacks, which were horrible. But then after that, it seemed like I just went downhill, and there was a ton of different things that went on. One whole section of it was about me blacking out and what looked like other aspects of me, other selves, whatever, taking control. That has been looked at and ruled out any kind of actual dissociative disorder, and looked into that it might be something else, but in any case that it's not, I don't believe is part of these other things. I think it's disconnected, because when that stuff was going on, this other stuff that I'm going to talk about was not going on. When this other stuff is going on, the blackouts weren't going on, so they were separate things. They seemed separate to me anyway. But it took months to get there. Where I was living before at Albany Care, when all these different things happened, nobody did anything. And it was just ridiculous. And then I moved here to Clayton, and nobody has really done anything until, I'd say, just about a month ago, when my psychiatrist was pushed to decide, say, is this a dissociative? And he said, no, it's not a dissociative disorder. And so then at least that was done. There were some things put in place so that I was not able to go into that state and get anything out of it, even though I never consciously, did that. But they really don't get it. I mean, they don't understand it. I'll explain stuff, and they'll just be like, great, it seems like you're doing really good. It's like, I just told you that, my hands are numb, and I have, I don't know, I'm hearing people's voices, and it sounds like it's just grating on my nerves, and yet it's just supposed to be someone talking, and they'll just be like, oh, you're doing great. It's just like, what the hell? So, they have so many people to look at. They barely have time to help with anything simple, never mind, what is probably really complex stuff. So it all really came out of nowhere. And so a huge other part of this is like a trauma thing, where I was for months on end really hyped up and like ready for something bad to happen, and just like listening out, and like having antenna on, and just like totally tuned into like what a person is saying, like all the noises in the room, like every feeling I had on like what was going on, and everything else. And I finally was talking to my friend Betty, and I finally got the thought, I guess, about that, where I was like, it almost seems like I know someone's going to come in the room and grab me, or like sneak up on me, and I just don't know where they are when they're coming. And actually, unfortunately, a lot of residents here don't respect personal space, and even staff will come up and like tap people on the shoulder. And a couple of people have done that, and that's really not been good for me, because that whole image is in my head all the time, and I think that's where it's sort of coming from. But then if someone does it in real life, it's not helpful, to say the least. So that kind of feeling of there's huge danger here. This is a very intense, like not life or death, but kind of like a crisis situation. Like we're trying to control all these different things to get something stable, that's not stable. Kind of like the emergency room, I guess, or kind of like a mental health crisis, which you see all the time. People are just running around, and okay, we're doing this, we're doing that, and they're very calm. They're very, they know what they're doing, but they have to do it really quickly and really accurately. And that's kind of where I was for a long time. It was like, I know, listen, do this, do that, but I have to keep doing it over and over and over again, And so that kind of like heightened state was where I was for months, and especially in the very beginning, every sound and every sort of change in quality or whatever of something would get my attention. And I'd be very focused on one thing, to the exclusion of other things. And I think that leads into some of the other things that were going on that I've talked about in other videos, which is, along with the being very hyped up, I would have perception issues where I would feel sensory things in a very focused, kind of horrible way, as if like everything was just too bright and too loud, too intense. And it could be, the sound of people's voices. Certain voices would just grate on my nerves, or just the sound of someone talking. It would just, a lot of sound felt like I was wearing headphones and it was just blasting into my head. Certain environmental noises, or noises that someone would make that isn't talking, like whistling or clapping, would get on my nerves. It still gets on my nerves. It never got on my nerves before. I would feel like the textures of clothes on my skin differently, and some fabrics would just rub my skin, and it felt like it was just so irritating. There were times that someone would touch me and it would feel like they were like touching under my skin, and it was so uncomfortable and like, I don't know what the word is, just like invasive or something. It was just overwhelming, and it felt like they were just reaching under my skin. Or I would feel like nothing when they touched me, and it was just ridiculous, so I would feel things really intensely or nothing, and everything would be really muted and, far away, and I couldn't really focus on any one thing, except that things were like kind of floaty and not with very much definition and kind of melding together. Whereas in the other thing, it's kind of like things were really sharp and there was a lot of peaks and valleys and a lot of definition to this thing, that it's like pointed and, really clear things sticking out, other things less so, but the whole sense of it was the huge wave of, very focused sound, hearing, whatever, texture, temperature, or just a really blobby, like nothing thing. So it was like both those extremes. So I had that going on. I had things going on with speaking that haven't been going on since March, since I left Albany Care, so I hope they don't. But it was to do with, I think there was so much input coming at me that my thoughts would get really tangled up, and like it's like I had all these thoughts in my head, and a lot of them didn't even seem like they were mine. It was just like someone was telling me these different things. I didn't hear voices then, but it was like someone was telling me all these different things to say. I'm like, say this, say that, that I couldn't find all the words I needed to say of like what I wanted to say versus what all this other stuff was. And so there was that problem, and then there was a problem of just physically speaking, where my mouth felt really like, and I just couldn't pronounce words correctly, and there wasn't even like a pattern to any one letters or whatever. I was just like blah 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 blah, or that's what it sounded like to me. And then, or it would be just at the wrong speed or at the wrong tone, and it was just like, it's like when you use a tape recorder or for blind people, for a screen reader, you set the voice and you can go like high or low, or blah blah blah, or slow, and you could just set all these different settings separately, and then you have to look at like what is the voice gonna sound like, with all of them together. And it seemed to me like all the trying to find the word, all the aspects of speaking kind of separated out and became individual things that never were in sync. So that was a huge problem. I felt like someone with a speech disability. I felt horrible as a blind person who couldn't communicate verbally very well. It scared me to death. It was one of the worst things about this, that I couldn't talk and make sense. Or half the time, like I would try to describe things going on in my head, and no matter what words I used, no matter if I tried to use like objects to explain it, no matter what I did, people wouldn't get it. And it was mostly my friend Jess was the one dealing with all this. And, we are as close as twins. We are sisters in each other's minds for years. And yet she has no reference point for this. And I'm in the middle of this, like, nightmare world. And there's nothing she can do to connect with me or find me in it. Luckily, other friends, other people who are experiencing similar things are finding me in it, which is a huge thing. And I'm hoping that we can work together and find my way out of it. And I believe Megan can be one of these people that I'm hoping can face all this random stuff that's spinning around in my head and not making sense, totally out of the blue, and have it try to make some sense or do something to calm things down or just do something positive. Even if it's just sitting and talking about it and having someone that really, really cares and really wants to listen and help in a way that staff here honestly don't. So that's the speech. The listening would be exactly similar. A lot of it was because, noise sounds would get amplified or distorted or far away, so I couldn't really listen, or my hearing would feel all muffled, so I had trouble listening. But even if I did hear a sentence really clearly, I kind of had to take it apart and put back together all the words and then kind of apply it to me. So I could just be sitting there trying to stay calm in the moment, which is really hard for me, obviously, and Jess would randomly say, "When do you want to go to Main Foods?" And at first it sounds like, when do you want to go to Main Foods? And it's all speeded up and mushed up, and I'm like, what? What? And then I have to sort of take the sentence and slow it down so it says, "When do you want to go to Main Foods?" Okay, what's Main Foods? Oh, it's the convenience store. What? When do I want to go there? I didn't say I wanted to go there. And when are we? No, we're not going anywhere, are we? And I would just get so confused over the different parts of the sentence and how it applied to me and just really weird stuff. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'd be like, Jess, I don't want. And I would just, one part of it would stick out. She was saying, when do you want to go? When do you want to go? I don't want to go anywhere. And I don't, I don't want to go anywhere at any specific time. Why are you saying this thing about I want to go someplace? This has no meaning in this moment of trying to just hear what you're saying or stay calm to talk to you and not look like I'm a complete, freak. So I'm like, please don't talk about, random things while I'm trying to just chillax. Or she'll say what are you going to be doing this evening? And some words, it would take me a while to get what that word was. I'm like, what, this evening? What is evening? And the sounds would sound, it's like, what? It just sounds like a bunch of sounds. I can't put that into a word that makes any sense. And then I'm like, oh, okay, so I'd have to go back and I'd be like, what are you going to do tonight? Oh yeah, tonight. And tonight must be evening. Okay, what are you going to do? And I'd be like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Right now I'm sitting here trying to think about this sentence and make it make sense in my head. And I keep telling her, please don't use words like evening or, I don't know, just something that I had a whole list. Well, I didn't have a list. I said, please don't use long sentences or it was so hard for me to describe the limits of what I could listen to. And I think it changed from moment to moment. And that was horrible. Speaking and listening again, as a blind person without that sense, to be that screwy around it was just terrible. I haven't had the speaking and listening problems since March or since the blacking out stuff ended. So the blacking out stuff ended over the past few weeks because we've worked really hard on that. I've worked very hard on that with my friend on a spiritual level, and it's working. I've worked very hard with the mental health professionals, following the things they suggest, and it's working. So that's working, and that's going away, at least for the time being. What's happening is that these other things are coming back, and they're coming back with a vengeance. So there's that. There's the panic attacks. I will just all of a sudden feel like I can't breathe and my heart is pounding and, whatever. I don't let myself have them. And I think that that's a huge thing with me, is that I use so much distraction and so much blocking out and so much stuff that it's like I don't feel any of it. And so now it's just all there and I'm so afraid of it, but I almost don't have a choice but to feel it, because one aspect or another is like right there in my face. And so, ever since I had the panic attacks, and I'm someone that really likes to be in control of my feelings and thoughts. And Betty is like, you're one of the most logical people I've ever met. You really need to just let go. I'm like, I can't. I'm trying. And you need to stop saying you're trying, because every time I say I'm trying, I like have a meltdown. But, she's extremely patient with me. But anyways, so thank you, Horn. I had the panic attacks in December, and I was taught, okay, you can have this panic attack and it'll stop and it'll go away and you're not going to die and everything. I'm like, okay. But then I was sitting there I'm like, I don't want to deal with this. Like, I don't want to deal with this every day or every week or whenever it decides to happen. I'm not going to sit around and have these panic attacks. There's no way. I will not have panic attacks. I say, this is me in charge of my brain, charge of my body. I will not have these panic attacks. And it's worked. It's worked very well. Except now that, like I said, this blackout stuff is done, I think now that I can't black out, all of this stuff that maybe I was blacking out from, is just there. And it's like this huge pile of, moving, buzzing stuff that can, kind of attack on any kind of level, in a mental, emotional, and physical sense. But since this has happened, I have felt, I'll just feel randomly like I'm having trouble breathing, or, like my heart's pounding, or, it could be just some small thing, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to have a panic attack, and I just distract myself from it, and everything else like that. And then, then the other thing is, my body will do really crazy things. Like, a few years back, I had this twitching in my shoulders. Twitching, and no one knew what to do, and my parents thought it was horrible, and some of my friends were like, it's okay, like, it's not a big deal, and my therapist is like, it's letting out emotions, and I'm like, so the twitching stopped. But ever since this stuff started, even in December, I'll do this. You're probably not going to be able to see my hands because I'm probably not lined up with the camera, but I'll do this twisty thing, like twisting my arm back and forth, or leg, particularly if it's on the surface of whatever, it's on the ground, and I'm just like twisting back and forth with my arms and legs. And it's the weirdest motion I've ever made. I've never made I don't ever remember making a motion like that with my arms and legs ever. Because it's not kicking, although recently one of my legs will want to kick. Just one. And that's weird. And I'm not really angry, it's just happening. But the other one won't, so yeah. That's the motion that my body will want to do. And I can stop it. I can stop it, and I can start it off, and I can stop, and I've done that. But sometimes my arms and legs will kind of, jerk, or I do feel them freezing up and being very stiff and hard to move, and I can't hide that. When it was in my legs, like my whole legs would feel totally stiff and like I'd been walking for a really long time or something. And I just couldn't walk very well at all or be comfortable. If my arms stiffen up, I can't hold things. I can't type. I can't have my arms up like this. I can't, my arms are stiff like that. I can't do things with my arms. And it would just happen. There's no thought process behind it. It just happens. And it happens for however long it happens. It could happen for 10 minutes, it could happen for an hour. A lot of these things would switch around and shift around for the whole months. When I wasn't blacked out, this is what was going on. Every day there was something. And it's kind of turning back into that thing of every day there is something, now that I'm not blacking out anymore. So the latest thing with the freezing up of my muscles has been my hands and my wrist will get really stiff. And my fingers and my thumbs got very, very stiff the other day. And it just felt like, my hands were cold, and it just felt like, I don't know, they were like shutting down or something. And it was just the most terrifying thing in the world. And I remember my friend Marta, we were talking about stiff fingers because she's a pianist, and I was learning sign, and we were talking, and she said, just wiggle your fingers, breathe, put your hands in warm water. And so I tried all those things. And it was nice to think of her because I hadn't talked to her in the longest time. It didn't work. Either it would be cold or stiff, or I could move my fingers, but maybe it was one thumb that was stiff. So it all kind of switched around with my hands thing for, a good day, basically. And I went to my psych and I had a meltdown about it, and he's like, "What is this so bad that you're sobbing? Oh my god." And it was just not taken seriously at all. So there's that stuff where my muscles will basically freeze up. It'll happen in my back sometimes. It'll happen in my shoulders. It'll happen, or I'll be numb. Like a couple days ago, like the right by my mouth, right on the side of my mouth, felt numb for a couple minutes, and that was really scary. And so there's that. There's and this might be kind of triggering. So I will put trigger warning. More intense, body trauma stuff, I guess. It's really embarrassing to say, but I feel like I need to say it. So I hope that was a long enough pause so you could shut off your video, or pause it, or fast forward, or something. So I have these other things, and they've happened since the beginning of this. My legs will get very stiff and have a lot of pressure in them. And my thighs will have a lot of pressure in them, as if someone's pushing on them. And everything below my waist will feel numb or really tight, like someone's just pushing down on me. When you're female and you have your period, it was kind of in that area of feeling pain and pressure and tightness in my stomach, as if I need to push, down, like if you're going to the bathroom or whatever. And that's really scary. And my bottom will hurt, and things like that. And that's very scary, and I don't talk about it. It just happens, and I just try to ignore it. And so, the only comfortable position I can get into is on my side. Because if I'm on my back, I can feel the pressing down more, and my legs and arms want to do that thing. If I'm on my stomach, I can feel it more in my back or on my shoulders or around my bottom. So, laying on my side, I kind of feel more safe because I'm kind of curled up around myself and nothing can hurt me. And it's just so weird because it's well, of course nothing can hurt me. I'm fine. And, but at the same time, it's very scary because I've never experienced. It doesn't take a rocket science or a psychologist to have a guess at what that all means, or what it could be. And I have never experienced that type of stuff. So that scares me a lot. But like I said, I try not to think about it. I try to just lay there and be calm and breathe, even though that's really hard, because half the time when someone says breathe, it makes me realize how tight my chest is, and I actually can't get in a good breath of air for a long time. And that's scary. But it's kind of I think it kind of just needs to run its course. Because I think the more it's trapped inside, especially with the panic attack, the more it just gets bigger and bigger. And if it runs its course, it'll be okay in the end. I talked to this woman who's very nice, and she's a counselor. But she also is sort of like a peer, to me, and she's been going through similar things herself, and she's gone through similar emotional things. So we talk, and she has the most gentle voice, and she's like, just breathe in love and, peace, and surround yourself with peace and love. And I'm just like, okay. A lot of it I can't really relate to because it's more of a spiritual thing, and I met her through the person that I'm talking with about the spiritual stuff. But we mostly talk about, just emotions and physical things and letting it kind of out, and her talking, and keeping me still, still in the sense of, allowing this to happen and, not running away, but knowing that she's right there. And that's what I need. I can't do it on my own because I just won't do it. I'll just shut down. I will never be in crisis over, oh my God, I have a panic attack. I'm lost. I don't know what to do. Oh my God, my hands are numb. I'm going to, I will hide those things. I still had issues with my hands, the next day or as the day went on. I didn't tell anybody. I just kind of, used my hands how I could use my hands and kind of kept them tucked into my lap or whatever, and I just tried to not focus on the numbness or the temperature, because my temperature, not just on my hands but all of my body, will sometimes become very cold or very hot, but it's my own body temperature. It's not a temperature created from the outside world. So it's, when I feel cold, I kind of feel like one of those like lizards or geckos or something that has to get warm from being around a warm thing, and when I feel hot, it's just like this heat under my skin, and it's really horrible. So that's pretty much, so I'll just hide it, and when I had the talking issue, I just didn't talk. I mean, that's why I was learning sign, but I was never nonverbal completely. But I hated my speech so much that I didn't want to speak. That if I was stuck this way, I didn't feel comfortable speaking with my voice the way it was. That's how much I hated the experience of not being able to speak, how I speak, and as a blind person, how to deal with that disability. And I was like, I cannot, I really can't. I wasn't going to die, but I'm like, I can't imagine living with a speech disability, because I can't deal with it. So I was learning sign, and the interesting thing was, because I was so in my body, feeling all these things, gesture in general helped me to make myself more understood. It also helped me let out some things, because words couldn't describe, and even the right, tone of voice and normal sort of facial expression, I assume, can't describe the intensity of what was going on with me. It's like if I could have just jumped up and down and screamed all day that it was happening, that would have been the best way to do it. But because of this, I actually was able to learn some signs. I don't remember many of them now, but it was like, yes, no, I understand, I want water, I need to go to the bathroom, I'm thank you, please, thank you for being my friend, I need quiet, I need to go, just simple things. I understand was a huge one, and I never would use I don't use the word I understand a lot, but I would automatically say it to Jess, because she'd go on this huge, monologue of sentences that I just couldn't get into my head, and so I'm like, I understand, like globally, like, you don't have to keep going, please don't talk anymore, I understand, and I would say yes instead of yeah, because sometimes the sound of yeah felt like it was like part of a word or something. It made it seem like, well, I'm just saying this weird sound, it doesn't make sense. So it was really, really scary, and I hope that doesn't happen. So excluding that, with my issues, I can stay very calm on the outside. I will look very preoccupied and tense, but I'm not screaming that my hands are numb. So I can get through these things by blocking them out very well. A girl I talked to in the very beginning, who had the same mindset of trying to help me through the feelings, said, you are a master dissociator, and that does not come overnight. And I just remember that sentence. Just like, okay. She's like, and I said, well, you probably make it, you must think it's not real, like the emotions, because I was so deep into this, what was going on, whatever it was, panic attack. And then Jess came in the room, and I just snapped out of it and was like, hey, how are you? And just like, totally fine. And she's like, yeah. She's like, it's real. She said, it's as real as, you coming out of it like that is as real as you being in the middle of it. But what I'm saying is your ability to separate those two things and, switch out of it is a complex form of dissociation. And please keep that in mind. So yeah, I have. So I guess the support that I'm kind of asking for is, if anyone's experienced any of this before, particularly out of the blue, and what your ways of dealing with it have been, if you've kind of tried to stick with your body and allow your body to move how it needs to move, that's really scary for me. Just different things you might do to like actually bring awareness to what's going on instead of running away from it. I have a lot of coping skills for distraction. I don't think I need any of those. I think I need to somehow hold on to some calm place in me and yet still be experiencing this stuff and know that it's okay. But that's going to take a very long time. So I need as many supporters as I can get. And it could be just texting or writing. Often that's not enough, though, when I'm really in a state. Voice chatting and on the phone is the best way to reach me mentally and emotionally. There are some people I talk to every day. I've been talking to two people all day, every day, basically. Hey. So that's been good, but I know I can't talk to everybody every day, all day, and I don't want to. I don't want people to feel like they have to help me, because I know it's a huge issue. It's a huge ask for someone to be able to sit with another person when they're in that heightened state and they can't find any kind of solid ground, and helping them through it and then helping them get on a solid ground. And it takes a lot. You don't need to be a therapist to do it. In fact, many therapists can't, I believe. Many professionals can't. I live with them every day. It just is a question of how will you be able to handle your own self-care, while this is happening. I don't think anyone could do anything worse could say or do anything worse to me that isn't already happening. So I don't think you can screw anything up more. So no one needs to worry about that. But whatever support you can give would be amazing, because I think the lesson in this, one of them is that I need to reach out, and I can't not be honest anymore. I can't be lying to myself and my body and everything else about I'm fine, I can handle this. It's hard, but I'm gonna just keep going, and maybe all this was meant to stop me and show me I need to have another way, another life, another sense of me and what's going on. So that's my take on everything. I'm sorry if it's wicked long. In regards to Megan and therapy, Megan, hi. We don't want to chase any of this, obviously I don't want to put me in a state purposely where I'm feeling something uncomfortable, or kind of trying to induce anything. But I wanted you to know the different aspects of what might come up, so you're not surprised. And that's so you might know how to help. But yeah, I don't want to chase around, and make me try to experience something, or make something bigger than how it is in the moment. But I think that I have an understanding, at least intellectually, about what is going on in my brain and body, and I am looking forward to getting as much help with that as possible. But I think I need to really feel safe, and why I'm writing, giving you the video and writing a couple sentences about that is that I might come into the office with a lot of stuff going on in that moment. My legs could be feeling like they're frozen. Could have trouble breathing. My hands could be numb. Whatever. So for you to know that when I'm walking in the door, that's you might have to start right from that moment to get me to calm down, which might be a shock, because I was so I was so talkative, and I wasn't emotional really last week. But things just might come pouring out. I don't know. Or it could be nothing, and I could just sit and talk, and maybe we'll see the slightest twitch in my arm, and we can work with that, or one thumb that's out of whack, and we can work. So I just wanted to prepare you for what things are going on that we didn't get a chance to really talk about last week. And so yeah, that's basically it for now. So if you want to listen and hear, if you feel you can support in any way, but the more people that I can speak to over the phone is the best, and that are okay with supporting someone in letting out their emotions, or in writing, or just sending good vibes and energy, and hope that I will get through this on the other side, and I can just talk to on Messenger. So anything like that would be amazing. Okay, I will talk to you all later. New friends, old friends, Megan. Bye. hell?
Inbox and my move. Cancel. Stop button. Stop.